Hey, everybody.
Well, from Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank.
And I am Adam, sitting in for Dan.
Coming up today, an interview with Hemant Mehta. He's the friendly atheist.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Who sold his soul
On eBay.
on eBay.
Right? Yeah.
For
How much did he get?
fame and world atheist world domination.
And the idea of there being people out there that are just like so angry that somebody, and you're just like, well, even if you do believe that, isn't that his right if he wants to sell his soul? Like,
Well, and to be honest, and he gets into it in the interview, but he actually sold his soul, figuratively, to attend churches. It was kind of this whole like, hey, I want to like explore and see churches and whatnot, and if you are the highest bidder, you can say which church I need to go to.
oh, I thought
So
it was that
his
whoever
sense of like selling it. It wasn't like
it
wasn't like a selling the soul to the devil.
Oh,
thing.
well, I thought it was that when you first said that, what I imagined you meant was that whoever bought his soul would then take it to church with them. And I was like, what a great racket. Like, you don't have to go.
Boy, I wish that worked.
Yeah.
Proxy church attendance.
See, I want proxy everything. Like I said, when I used to do...
But that seems like something you'd have to pay for.
Not,
rather than somebody paying you for the privilege of saving your soul.
There's enough people, there's enough busy little bodies out there that I think would totally take you up on on that, just to be the savior, you know what I mean? I love that.
That's
I
a really
love that
funny
idea.
No, I like it. It's kind of the reverse of buying an indulgence.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, what it is it's baptism for the dead before you're dead.
But with profit involved.
And I don't have to do anything.
Nothing.
I don't.
And that is baptism for the dead.
Yeah.
It's the exact same concept.
You don't have to do anything. You actually don't
all
even
the work.
Yeah.
You do it in my name.
Mm-hmm.
Fine.
And you know what? If I'm the one that's baptizing you, I don't even need to know where you were buried. No. I don't need to know anything about you. You're just a name.
No, you're not buried yet. You're still alive.
Yeah. No, I'm saying that in that same way that baptism for the dead, like they don't need to know. It's it's some 12-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And he's like,
and he's
who's
taken
Anne
the weight
Frank?
of
And just
your...
does it.
Right.
And just like it's a name but you're doing it, by proxy for them.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Selling your soul. Favorite episode of The Simpsons, I think, is when Bart sells his soul.
Yeah.
So good.
That is a good one.
Yeah.
I saw that not too long ago.
It's a really good one.
Huh. That's funny. All right. Well, what do you have? You have anything
yeah.
to share with us?
I can get started. So this is, we always look for these stories, and I'm always sort of trying to find stories either that are just something funny, that's just like a good sort of one-off joke, or something that's like, well, these religious people are trying to get other people to do this thing, and doesn't that make you mad? Mm-hmm. This one I felt like was so weird because it's coming from a group of people that aren't really known for bargaining or like being, I don't want to say reasonable because this isn't reasonable, but more reasonable than they usually are.
Okay.
We are talking about Islamist insurgents. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
What I have here is Islamist insurgents have issued an ultimatum to northern Iraq's dwindling Christian population.
Okay.
There is a Christian population in northern Iraq.
And as you expect, they're dwindling.
Yeah, they are dwindling. Surprisingly enough, it's not blooming. Yes, yeah. So they've issued an ultimatum. Now, that is something that Islamist insurgents are really good at.
They love that
ultimatums.
kind of stuff, yeah.
But
because the world is very black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why this is weird.
Yeah.
To either convert to Islam or be killed or pay a religious levy. Essentially a fine for not being Muslim.
For not being Muslim.
Now, I haven't read all of the doctrine, right? I don't know everything about where the Muslim radical community comes from.
Sure. Okay.
But one thing I do know is that they have a word that they love to throw around a lot, and that word is infidel.
Yeah,
and that an infidel is someone who is aware of Islam and chooses not to become it.
Oh.
And that when you do that, you die. That is
Right.
punishable by death.
Okay.
So the entire idea of a religious tax, if you will, on not being Muslim, is that just me, or is that like completely negate everything else about being like a radical Muslim?
Yeah, you kind of blew it.
Yeah, you totally blew it.
You got to hand in your radical card.
Yeah, you no longer get to be. That's what I'm saying. So not reasonable by world standards, but by their standards, amazingly reasonable. Because who the hell is going to be like, ooh, how much is the tax? Right? Like.
Well, that actually is a good question. How much is the tax?
I don't have any. There isn't a breakdown on this sheet.
If you choose to be Catholic,
Yeah,
it's a $1,000 levy.
So
If you choose to be Jehovah's Witness, it's a $10,000 levy.
do we have? I don't have the paperwork here for Hindu. Can we come back next week? Is that okay? What are they becoming? Are they becoming like the mafia?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Hey, listen,
Well, yeah,
listen,
it's a little bit of a
listen, Beeb.
shakedown.
It would be a real shame if something happened to this lovely little copper shop you got here.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out. Like
But
maybe you'll die or something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Isn't that weird though? A religious tax.
It really brings up a lot of strange questions. Yeah.
So we have here.
So, but then they would just leave them alone. I mean, that is really truly the premise. They pay the tax every year, and then they're just. I mean, you're right. That does seem a lot like living in Sicily
It's a slippery slope.
and owning a business in Sicily.
Once you have anybody in the room that goes, or like anytime there's that they're like
Right.
and die, and then somebody's like, or like once that happens, you're absolutely right. You have to hand in the radical card.
Yeah.
It says here, Christians who wanted to remain in the caliphate state that the Islamic State declared this month in parts of Iraq and Syria must agree to abide by terms of a dhimma contract,
Okay.
a historic practice under which non-Muslims were protected in Muslim lands in return for a special levy known as jizya, which I think is a member of the Wu-Tang Clan. We offer them three choices: Islam, the dhimma contract involving payment of jizya. If they refuse this, then they will have nothing but the sword.
So this is actually a very old and time-honored tradition in Islamic states.
Right. But
Is that what I'm hearing here?
I think so. But the problem is that it's the first I've ever heard of it, and I would imagine that a lot of other people out there, including kids who get indoctrinated into radical Muslim sects, it's probably the first time they've ever heard of it either. Because once you say to somebody, well, if they pay, then we don't have to kill them, then so much of your sort of wheelhouse goes off the table.
I mean, really,
doesn't
isn't
it?
the radical, like these radicals, right? Isn't what they're looking for is just a return to Islamic rule?
Yeah.
The Islamic rule of the past, one giant Islamic state that rules the whole world.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
that's what they want, the whole world. But like we're talking where we've seen like a pan,
You're absolutely
Islamist
right.
state in the Middle East.
Yeah.
What, it was the Ottoman Empire, right?
Yes, exactly. Well, and that's why things like the West are considered the Red Devil. Like that is like, and that you don't bargain with them. You don't, you know what I mean? I mean, what was it's actually, I think it is in the Quran, this idea of they will be pushed into the sea, into the ocean. There's an actual like line about like pushing the infidel like off the planet, basically. You know what I mean? Like
That's just rude.
I know, right?
It's really just rude.
But that's what I'm saying is like when you have like the 14-year-old kid and you're strapping like the C4 onto him so that he can go drive the car into the American base or whatever. Do you think at any time during that they're like, well, I mean, if they'd pay us, then we wouldn't.
If they pull out an American Express black card,
and you know
we're
what?
good to go.
Monthly payments. Like if that had happened one time, the kid would probably be like, oh, so I don't Oh, so we don't have to do all this.
They just send him in with a cell phone with a square on it. So he's like, I can either call this number and I blow up, or you can swipe your credit card.
Yeah, it's the
that's what you do.
Yeah, it's the iPad. They flip around to you, and you're like, so which one do I hit? Do I have to hit? Well, it'll show you up above.
Thanks. I have to leave at least a $1 gratuity.
Yeah,
thanks.
Or press this other button and then choose my own.
50 cents.
Yeah, come on.
Sometimes you want to leave a 50-cent tip at a coffee shop.
Anyway, that's what I've got. It just seemed, again, it seems like, and it's funny because you guys had just done this last week, and I had brought it up because I haven't listened to the newest one about the Book of Abraham. The Mormons talking about that. It's the same kind of slippery slope. The second that you stray away from the thing that is your tenement of everything, right? It is the keystone that holds it all together. Tenement would be like a shanty shotgun shack in like the
and a tenant is somebody who lives there and pays rent.
Yes.
A tenant, however, is a belief. But we got there.
You know what? If we would have just skipped right past it, people would be like, I know what he meant. But anyway, oh yeah, but that real sort of keystone to the entire setup is that once you even remotely go, well, maybe, then like everything falls apart.
Yeah,
you can't do that. That's
always a house of cards.
Yeah,
you know?
It always
really
is. But I mean, we know that,
right?
We're on an atheist
but what's
podcast.
Amazing? Here's the deal, though. Here's the deal. It seems like it should be a house of cards, right? Any weird structure of like belief that's all, but just like what the Mormons did with the Book of Abraham, is there's somehow this magical ability to remove a card and slip another one right in there.
Or just
the whole thing doesn't topple.
I think it's even weirder than that. I think if you want to do the object lesson and we're using the house of cards, it's that you pull the one out in the middle, don't replace it with anything, and it still stands there when everybody goes, that's not, how can it? You go, faith. That's just faith. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. But that suggests that it,
To them,
yeah.
There is no gravity. There's no reason that the house should fall.
Yeah.
Because it's God's house.
All right.
Give me something. Lay it on me.
I would like to talk about the Hobby Lobby family.
Not familiar.
The Hobby Lobbies?
What's
Mr. and Mrs. Hobby Lobby? No?
Really? No, of course.
No,
Of course I do. And
the
actually,
Greens,
yeah.
right?
Well, and for me, it's even worse because it's literally like I can do without Jimmy John's. I can be like, all right, well, that guy's an asshole. I won't go there. Their sandwiches are kind of mushy anyway.
Right.
Hobby Lobby is the greatest craft store of all time. It is like Santa's workshop, and I am like a crafty. You know me. I do lots of
but
art
Michael's
projects.
won't work for you.
It's so Michael's is like nothing compared to Michael's. Michael's to Hobby Lobby is like Harbor Freight to Home Depot. Like there, you can go in there, you can kind of find some stuff, but it's not. It's going to be kind of crap. So it makes me so mad that this is happening because I love Hobby Lobby. I love it so much. It's such a good store.
Oh, that makes me really happy.
Sorry for the tangent. Go ahead.
So the Greens, Steve Green, I guess, is the president of Hobby Lobby. They're famously Christian.
Mm-hmm.
They play Christian-y music in their stores.
Mm-hmm.
They're closed Sundays, so forth and so on. I guess for the last year and a half or so, he has been on a private buying spree of religious antiquities, papyri, scrolls, Torahs, anything that like could possibly be a foundational document for the Bible.
Anything that the only other bidder on it on eBay is probably Mel Gibson.
Possibly.
Just the numbers keep going up higher and higher. He's like, who is this other crazy rich Christian?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Mel Gibson.
Yeah. He has spent more than $30 million in his initial buying spree. And he's employed an archaeologist and historian to do all the work.
But they don't get birth control.
But they don't get birth control. Okay. Yeah. And he has plans to build...
I don't have to give you birth control.
He has plans to build a Bible museum in Washington, D.C.
Bible museum.
Bible museum.
Oh, it's like it's the best oxymoron of all time.
Why?
A Bible museum?
Yeah, it's a museum for the Bible.
Okay.
Why not? Why is that like?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
It's not like
Everything in
it's
the
a-
Bible is real.
Well, but it could be a museum about the Bible, about the creation of the Bible, right? And the
Dear.
formation of the Bible, and recounting this wonderful, rich history of this foundational, text for Western civilization.
Yeah, and that's probably exactly what it'll be. There probably won't be like an interactive arc that you can get on at all. It won't be anything like that.
Yeah.
There probably won't be, any kind of like dinosaurs,
Right.
Yeah.
When Dan and I were in Eureka Springs to see the Passion Play,
Oh, I love the pictures of that. By the way.
It was amazing. We went to we did their whole little Bible land tour crap and all that, and then there's like supposed to be like this Bible museum there. I think if I remember right, it was a Bible museum / gift shop. And so you walk around and there's like Bible-y, like, stuff, real Bible, like ancient, whatever this, and copy of Gutenberg, Bible here, and, whatever. Right. And then there were like gift cards, magnets mixed in that were for sale.
Like a magnet of a shard from the cross, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that kind of crap. Yeah, that was bad. But they're taking over quite the impressive building. It's a former refrigeration warehouse from the early 1900s. It's this big brick behemoth of a building.
This is Steve Green's Bible.
They've bought the building, as far as I could tell from the story, and they're planning the renovation of it right now. It's really close to the mall in Washington, D.C., and it's within like a stone's throw
So
of
you could
the
just do a whole
Smithsonian
tour of everything.
and the Air and Space Museum. And yeah, so they want to be part of like the Washington, D.C. museum circuit, right? Like,
Right.
Because, I mean, have you been to Washington, D.C.?
Mm-hmm.
And you probably did like the Smithsonian
and you
mall
do
thing. You go to all the different Smithsonian museums. Well, like there's a bunch of other really cool museums that aren't part of the Smithsonian system, like the Newseum, which is the journalism museum.
Oh, okay.
That one's awesome, and it's totally a must see type museum when you're in DC.
So you're saying you think that Bible World is he sticking on that name? What's he going with?
I don't know that it has a name.
Bibletopia?
No.
Okay. Anyway, so you know what? We're going to go ahead and say it's Bible World. So do you think that Bible World?
Okay.
So you're saying Bible World could very well be part of this circuit of the
places
tours.
that a tourist who's showing up in DC would create a list of like the 5 museums they want to go to.
Yeah, but I mean
the National Gallery, the Air and Space Museum, the Newseum,
and Bible World. That's what I'm saying.
World.
Is like so. But I mean, are you saying that it's that helps to legitimize it, or is it like?
Well, I think its
after
presence and where it's going to be. Yeah, absolutely.
Even with the other things,
even though it's not part of the Smithsonian, it's not part of any sort of other thing. And it's clearly a religious thing.
If you spend
like
$30 million, it's. I mean, I guess that's the problem. Is that
that's the collection,
right? And
that's not even the building's going to be an $800 million project.
I know
this museum is going to be.
Well, I guess in my head, because of the Hobby Lobby connection, I'm thinking the whole thing's going to be made out of popsicle sticks, googly eyes, and pipe cleaners.
That's just one corner
right.
of Hobby Lobby. That's your corner of Hobby Lobby.
I know, but
there are other wonderful...
just miles of artificial plants.
There's all those beautiful frames that say things like friends or family.
Family.
Best friend.
I like the one. I like
Number
the big
one dad.
scrolling cursive family. That one's so good.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's
just the letters. The big cutout letters that you can paint and then hang on your wall that say family.
Yes. My cousin has so much of that stupid shit in his house.
Yeah.
Just, you know what I mean? Just like whole rooms that you're like, I don't think anybody's ever been in here.
Yeah.
And it's just full of that kind of stuff.
It's still strangely mauve.
Oh, God. Of course, this is also the same kid who has a massive painting on his wall not painted on the wall. It's, framed and hung on the wall. That's the timeline of the Book of Mormon.
What?
It's where it's like it goes. So it's like there's a timeline, right, that spans all the way back to the Bible of all these different, real big events in Book of Mormon history.
And are they like lined up with major world events? Like,
no, they're sort of on their own timeline.
Just on their own.
But then there's like, there's like these very classic, almost Rubenesque paintings along with it of the events actually happening. It looks like the fucking Lord of the Rings.
Really?
I mean, well, think about it. If you were to see an illustrated history of the Book of Mormon, it's the craziest looking thing.
Okay, yeah.
Where I'm like, oh my God, who are those guys supposed to be? And he's like, well, those are the Lamanites. And I'm like, oh, that's what they like. That's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
That's Captain Moroni or whatever. I can't even remember. Captain Helaman.
Yeah. Anyway, Bible world. Let's get back to Bible world.
I'm glad that I don't have full
knowledge,
recall of the Book of Mormon.
Dude,
anymore.
Me either. I seriously have none because I feel like I've rolled it up into all the other like barbarian movies I loved as a 11-year-old. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, was that in the Book of Mormon or Beastmaster? Like, I can't remember. Didn't Moroni have 2 pet ferrets that went out and stole the key to the jail for him? Isn't that?
Boy, I wish.
Oh, man. I'd still be a member. I would be like, this is the funnest religion ever.
Beastmaster. That wasn't who was in that?
I can't remember the guy's name. He's one of the. It's not Jeff Fahey, but it looks like Jeff Fahey.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Okay.
Anyway, tangent.
All right. So, anyways, yeah,
Bible world.
It's going to be happening. It's a for real deal. The city council seems positive about the renovation work that's going to be happening. And neighbors are happy that this old building has found a purpose, or someone has found a purpose for this old building.
Do you think it's going to be? I mean, you were being facetious, but do you think it's going to be just Crazy Pants McCrazyton, or do you think it's going to be?
I think it's going to be a mixture. I think that I mean, it's clearly going to be through their lens, so it's going to be rife with nuttiness, right?
That's so much more dangerous, though, when there is like elements of legitimacy. Well, because if you've spent let's say that you spend like $2 million on some artifact that should be in like a real museum, right? It should be somewhere because it's actually a thing that. It's like when I was in Egypt, we went to the well where they were like, this is where Moses's little reed basket was found on the side. And you're like, that's crazy that that's here. But then there's all this crap built around it that's like, yay. And you're like, I don't believe any of that. But this is a historical thing in the midst of.
Well, maybe historical.
But you know what I mean.
They found a well that.
But again, to go back to the LDS thing, it's not like it was in like Poughkeepsie, New York, and they're like, "There's no fucking way that he was ever here," right? It's not that. I mean, it's legitimate enough that you're like, well, Ramses was a real dude, Moses was a real dude. This is where they grew up. So I mean, there's that legitimate part to it, and then it always sucks because it gets tacked on to all of this like super nutso stuff,
right?
That they feel like that they get to monopolize that part of history because it was their superheroes or whatever.
I would love to be able to go and see these artifacts, like going in and seeing like old papyri and Torahs and old found early this is like in Palestinian Aramaic the versions of stuff that wound up in the New Testament, like really really ancient shit. I would love to see that stuff.
Same here.
If it was presented in just a, hey, this is the thing,
I know,
and this is what it turned into, and blah, 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 rather than, this proves that the Bible is true.
Why
and that
can't
Jesus died for our sins? And,
like the 9/11, there's like the 9/11 museum that they have finally like opened and is, and there's like the really graphic stuff. Like you have to choose to walk into a door to go and see all that stuff so that elementary schools and things like that, can bypass it. Why can't they do that? Why can't they have like a fairly normal Bible museum with all these artifacts that
Yeah.
are like, this is really from this period of time. Isn't that wild? And you're like, oh my God, yeah. You know, I'm a reasonable adult that can make decisions for myself,
Right,
and I
right,
can
right.
say, this is real. It's been
Yeah.
proven by scientists. And then there's like a door that, and maybe that's where they put the two gigantic googly eyes that's just like, whoa, come on in here for the rest of the story, right?
And the rest of the thing's made out of felt and crepe paper.
Yes. There's some like, you know, fun fact on the wall. It's like it took 3,000 glue sticks to make this, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway.
And yeah. And only 6,000 years to make the entire planet.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Me. I'm up next.
Yeah, I
All
think
right.
you are.
This has been kind of all over the place just because it's one of those wonderful moments when religious idolatry clashes with, you know, fashion. Those great moments there. This is the Urban Outfitters story. Urban Outfitters, great place to buy a duvet.
Yeah.
Great, I mean,
If you need a duvet,
yeah.
if you're in college or should be in college and need a duvet,
Urban
it's
Outfitters.
actually more of the should be's.
Yeah, it's
Don't
a
you
lot
think, rather than the
it's
ones
a
who actually
lot
are.
more of the should be.
It's that age group, but they're just like working at a coffee shop.
Yeah. Just
Which there's nothing wrong with working at a coffee shop.
no, but just and you're like, my band's really going to take off pretty soon. I mean, they offered me a manager position, but we're going on tour next week. And
Oh, I need a duvet.
so I better go to get a duvet at Urban Outfitters. So for all of those kids, what Urban Outfitters had was a duvet cover featuring Lord Ganesh. Now, for
Hindu,
those of you who
right?
maybe don't know,
Yeah.
that's the elephant. That's the elephant guy. The elephant guy with the bunch of arms, right?
Okay, right. So it's like an elephant head.
Yeah, he's got the elephant head, and then he's got sort of a big, jolly kind of Buddha-looking body, and then he has multiple arms, and then, you know, on these images, these pictographs, they'll like the arms are always holding, like one's holding a drum, and one has a palm with fire in it, and each one of these things means something very specific, right?
Sure,
I mean, this is, and it's not like that they got like, you know, Banksy to make it or whatever. Like, it's a real legitimate print. It looks like something that would be on a wall somewhere, right?
Right, okay.
Well, the Hindus were just so unreasonable about this.
Why?
About their god, one of their gods being on. I mean, they have so many more.
Well, I mean,
There's
that's
so
the
many
thing.
gods.
Like, if you have that many, one of them's going to end up on a duvet.
And they're bitchin' looking. Like, why wouldn't you want it on like a shirt or like, it's kind of their fault.
Yeah.
Your god looks awesome.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you want here. Like, you have some of the coolest looking gods of all time,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, would they mind if it was like modified in some way so that it didn't like fully resemble?
Yeah, but then
Like,
what's the
put
point?
some sunglasses on him.
But then what's
you
the
know?
point? Like, if it doesn't look legitimate,
I don't know. I think sunglasses on Lord Ganesh would be pretty cool.
it would be pretty sweet.
When I was 10, we did a Washington, D.C. vacation when I was 10 years old. Speaking of the last story. And at some gift shop somewhere, I got it was a T-shirt with Lincoln Memorial, right, on it. And he had a Hawaiian T-shirt on and some sunglasses, and I fucking loved that thing. It was so cool.
You know what would make the kids really dig history, presidential history? If we kind of Chester cheated him up a little bit. What if we made him a little more radical?
To be fair, this was 1985.
Yeah.
Okay. It was the
It may
height
as well-
of cool.
It may as well have been Garfield sitting on the monument, you know. I hate Mondays and Civil War.
I thought it was awesome.
Oh yeah, no, I can completely understand.
Civil War.
So anyway, yeah. So the duvet was available online, and now the website is saying that it is sold out. When really they pulled it because people were upset. And so here we go. So
Okay.
Rajan Zed, a Hindu activist from Nevada.
That's a strange place to be from if you're... Okay. All right. Keep going.
It's a strange place to be from. And president of the Universal Society of Hinduism.
Wow.
So listen here, Urban Outfitters. If you think you can sell that thing on Mars, you're dead wrong.
Wow.
Because Rajan Zed will have something to say about it.
He's got it. Yeah. Okay.
It's all covered.
Okay.
Spearheaded the protest, saying the duvet cover was highly inappropriate. He said that he was upset that it took the company almost 2 weeks to respond to the issue. You can put him in a frame and on the wall. That is fine, Zed said in an earlier interview, but not to be put on a bed, which you lie on and put your feet on.
Oh,
that is very inappropriate.
Huh. Didn't they have some socks
They did.
a couple years ago?
Hey, Zed, you don't like that? My feet are in your god now. How about that? Inside the shoe.
So the socks had Lord Ganesh.
It was Lord Ganesh again. Again, what do the Hindus expect? Their gods look like members of the X-Men. They're awesome. Multi-arms, different animal heads, crazy superpowers. They can grow to be giants. You know, I think they can shrink and fit into a doorknob or a keyhole. I think I heard that story.
The problem, I think, is that as Americans, right, we have a weird sense of like sacred and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because like if you look at like probably the most American expression of Christianity, which is evangelicalism, just nuts, fucking nuts.
Yeah.
I don't think any one of them would object to a duvet cover with Christ on the cross.
Oh, God, no.
They would love it.
No.
Wrapping up with Jesus at night would be like the best thing ever.
Go to the most religious area in the United States in the Bible Belt and go to any swap meet and try not to find something with Jesus or Mary on it.
Oh, no kidding.
They're everywhere.
No, yeah, everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Hats, T-shirts,
Clocks.
I bet there's pillowcases.
Dude, clocks with like fiber optic flowers on it that change color, right? Big old fuzzy blankets with Jesus's face on them, right? Like that.
Exactly.
We love that. We love that shit.
We,
as a society.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be clear. I don't think it's the whole society, but I think that like as far as like one of the largest groups and their religious expression, it's who cares where you're putting
To be fair, speak for yourself. You've been to my house. How much gaudy Jesus stuff is there?
Oh, that's true.
I have a blanket with Jesus on it. And
but you're not a member of that group.
It's the coziest blanket I own. It's lovely. I just think that it's like, it's pretty funny. Well, and so there's part of me that's like, well, the Hindus are being a little bit unreasonable about this, but then the other end of it that makes me go, well, is that the very last paragraph says, Urban Outfitters has used religious symbols on merchandise before, upsetting other religious groups. In 2012, the company sold a shirt that resembled the Yellow Star of David patch the Jews were forced to wear in Nazi Germany. In March, the retailer was asked to remove a shirt that said, Jesus, I'm drunk, with a picture of Jesus holding a beer. And I'm like, okay. Like,
that's funny.
Yeah,
the Jewish one not funny, but the Jesus one's funny.
Yeah, the Jewish one. I think I'm pretty sure. No, please write in if you have comments about this because I'm no designer, but I'm pretty sure it'll always be too soon to use the Yellow Star of David.
Yeah, probably.
Is that? It's like the Hitler mustache. It can never come back.
I don't know.
You think the Hitler mustache has
I think it could come back.
No.
Yes.
When?
The 100th anniversary of the end of World War II. It'll be the late 2040s. It's going to be all the rage to have Hitler mustaches.
It's like
because enough time will finally have passed. He's been dead.
But you're making
100 years, over 100 years.
But you made it sound like on the anniversary, like it's Movember or something, and everybody shaves
Everybody
it in.
should. That should be a thing.
Oh God!
At the 100, because we're doing the 100th anniversary of the start of World War I.
Oh right,
right now.
Yeah,
I mean we're coming up on 100 years of like crazy things that seemed. I mean World War I always seemed like distant past, but like World War II growing up never really did. Grandparents who fought in the war.
Yeah,
and that kind of shit,
it was right there.
Like
so, 2040.
2045.
Hitler mustache.
Hitler mustache will be all the rage. You heard it here first.
Well, say what you want about Hitler. He did have a really rough honeymoon. All right. Did you want to go with your next story?
But he had a rockin' stash. That's the thing. Like, that mustache was awesome.
I don't think it's ever coming back.
No, but like, think of it. That's such a cool mustache.
But you know what you do? You know what you never see?
What?
That with a 5 o'clock shadow. Think about how horrible that would look.
Oh, it would.
See, when you coif the hair like that, when you really get in there and you do like Prince, like if you do like the crazy Prince sideburn thing,
Right.
then you can never have like the look that you've got going on right now. Where you let it go just a little bit and you have the cool Don Johnson thing.
No, yeah.
You can't do it.
Right.
Imagine the Hitler mustache with like a couple of days growth on the
That'd
sides.
be gross.
So
but what
disgusting.
about a soul patch?
Oh.
That'd be cool.
Then
See what I'm saying?
if you really pursed your lips together, it would just look like you had a little beaver tail coming down from your nose.
Gross. Okay, I take it back. I take it back 100%. All right.
This is the Tangent Show.
Yeah,
this
it
is
is.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Isn't this what we always do?
This is
Yeah.
And
Yeah. We used to
and Dan's
sit.
head explodes when he listens to it.
We used to sit next to each other at work. We never got anything done.
For your productivity, my leaving was probably the best thing that ever happened.
Probably. I just sit there by myself like
This hour and a half used to be spent just talking to Frank.
God, did the days get long? They got long.
All right. So I love this kind of stuff. All these little Pew Research studies, survey things, right?
They're always very surprising. I feel like.
And they're wonderfully informative.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the numbers for some reason. I love hearing about, this percentage of people feeling this way and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, there's another one out this week, and it has to do with with Americans' views of our various different religious groups. And it's sort of this warm, cold scale thing.
Oh, what we
Rather
think
than-
there is the most of.
No. Just our view, our sense of, how positive we feel about a group or how
of each
negative
group.
we feel about a group. Just what is that group's, how are they perceived by Americans?
Okay, and
right?
what is our pool made up of?
Americans.
No, in terms of what religious groups?
Sounds like pretty much all of them. Buddhists are on the list. Hindus are on the list.
Oh, wow.
Atheists are on the list.
Okay.
And
We lost, didn't we?
yeah, we lost.
Shit.
Yeah.
I knew it.
But it is really interesting because in addition to, let's just go through the initial numbers.
Yeah, let's do it.
The initial numbers are just in general, Americans. What do you think the number one group is that Americans feel
Most loved?
the most positive about? Yeah, the warmer is they have it on warmer and cooler scale.
Catholics?
No, Catholics are high, but there is one group higher than Catholics.
Not just like, is it just like general Christians? Is that an actual thing? Is that
Not really.
Buddhists?
No, Buddhists don't do terribly.
I guess I'm just trying to think if you were to get everybody's opinion that
It actually might be surprising, to be honest.
what is it?
Jews.
Sure.
Yeah. We in general, like as far as much as there are
I wouldn't
the
have thought
Jew
that, but yeah.
haters,
Yeah.
like the actual legitimate, they control the media types.
Yeah, but those
know.
people are so marginalized.
Right.
They're marginalized, and it's an insulary community.
Right, exactly.
You don't have like one guy who does like great barbecues on the weekend, and everybody in the neighborhood loves him. And he does have that Jew hate thing, but other than that, right? Like if there's a guy that's like that, nobody talks to that guy anymore, right?
Well, and he never really says it.
Yeah, he doesn't. He goes
just
inside,
harbors it
He gets
deeply
inside
within.
at the end of the day and goes, Jews, with his fists balled up.
Yeah, the average
see
score
that now.
of respondents placed Jews at 63, a score of 63, with 0 being the coldest perception and 100 being the warmest reception. So this is an average of perceptions. It's not a percentage or anything like that. So it's not like 63% of Americans view Jews positively.
It's the high water mark.
This is Americans have this average warmth towards Jews, and it ranks 63.
And it's as high as it gets. That's
the highest any group is perceived. Right below them at 62 is Catholics.
Does that mean that there was still 37%, or there were still 37% of people that were polled that went, Jews?
Again, it's not percentage. it's how positively do you feel? So you could say on a scale of 0 to 100, and a respondent would say, I feel the temperature I would give them would be 85.
Or 63.
Or I would give them, or 63, or, I don't know, 32. You know, I feel
like the idea of you answering
frigid.
those questions like that.
No.
Ooh. Jehovah's Witness. Ooh.
Oh. They're the ones with the pamphlets, and they come around. Oh.
They're the ones that just don't seem like
they're
very
not
much
awful
fun.
people. They're not awful.
No, it's not about being awful.
I grew up with some living across the street,
But
and they were fine.
They were cold.
They were fine.
I feel a little cold.
I don't. I put them around 40. No, it's more like sweater weather.
I like the
55.
gave a history. There was some across the street when I was growing up. It's proximity. It's proximity. I worked with a kid who was Jehovah's Witness.
There were always Jehovah's Witness kids in all of our classes growing up.
That's such an unfair way to raise a kid.
Oh, it's awful.
So unfair.
Awful. And the rest of us had to make like really stupid craft projects around the holidays.
Right.
Because the craft projects had to like accommodate everyone. So like my mom still has this Christmas ornament that I made that is
just a box, just an unpainted wooden box.
No. It's an ice cream soda that has a little hook added in it. It was a little clear little cup, and we used little pom-poms.
Yeah,
right?
and they look right at that kid and go, now, Patrick, the hook could just be used for a nail on the wall.
What they
wouldn't
did for
have
the
to go on a
Jehovah's
tree.
Witnesses kids, they didn't put the hook on, they put a magnet. So they could put it on their refrigerator.
Oh, my God. And that poor kid is like, don't placate me, lady. I know.
Actually, I think it was
know.
presented for those of you who would like to have this as an ornament. You can do this, and for those of you who'd like to put it on the refrigerator, you can do it like this. And so it was totally everybody just opted.
Mommy says that soda is another way in which we have joy, and that hurts God's feelings. I can't have this.
Did you ever make ashtrays in class?
No.
I actually legitimately took home an ashtray once to my Mormon parents. Because it was like the early 80s. Like, people were still like, oh yeah, people smoke.
Enough people smoke that all the kids are going to take home.
Everybody made an ashtray that day in art. I'm dead serious.
Look, even if your parents don't smoke, maybe they're going to have one of the neighbors over, and they're definitely
they
smokers.
Can put their keys in it. Well, what if because I'm pretty sure I was always very outspoken about this kind of stuff. What if my parents don't smoke? Well, they can use it to put their keys in. Well, what are the notches on the side for?
God, Frank, I don't know. Just do this. Do you know how much I'm getting paid?
All right, back to this. Evangelical Christians come at 61%. Or not 60, score of 61. I was the one just railing against it being a percentage.
Evangelical Christians are
Evangelical
61?
Christians. Okay. Buddhists, 53. Hindus, 50. Mormons, 48. So they're below the halfway mark. There are more people. There's more sentiment that's against them that's for them.
But still, like in the order that it's going,
they're in the middle.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Atheists, 41, and Muslims. So we're not last, thank God. 40. So they score 40 on the scale. We beat the Muslims.
So
we're improving actually.
But here's the thing. They've
gotten worse.
Yeah, well, I was going to.
likely.
That's what I was going at. Is a population of people that make up the lowest percent of murderers, rapists, and general people in prison, atheists,
right?
Still barely eked by the religion that sent 2 planes into the tallest buildings in North America.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Hindus over Mormons, though, huh?
Hindus over Mormons. Now, so that's
where
the
was
scale.
Catholics? I didn't.
Catholics were number 2.
Okay,
right below the Jews.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay,
but what's interesting about this whole thing is that this is the scale that includes everybody, and so there's a huge number of Catholics in this country. Same with evangelical Christians.
Right.
They're in this group.
Right.
They're getting to say, yeah, we feel great about ourselves.
That's a really good point.
So they have sort of distilled out that fact, and it brought everybody down just a little bit.
Ooh, you know what? I would like to see this. You raised such a good point.
Didn't change the order.
You raised such a good point. I would love to see this done again, strictly with non-denominational people. People that are just like, bleh, like I believe in God, or people that are atheist or agnostic.
Oh, I think we have those numbers in this study.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So of people who are unaffiliated, and that includes atheist, agnostic, or nothing in particular, which I think is a wonderful category to belong to.
That's what it says.
Nothing in particular.
Just whatever.
So
whatever regular people do. Yeah. That's what I do.
So the general sort of averaged out amongst those. We have those broken down too.
Okay.
But the unaffiliated, their highest scored group was Buddhists.
That makes perfect sense to me.
Followed by atheists.
Sure.
So not
atheists stayed on the list. Whoa.
The unaffiliated.
We're through the looking glass.
View atheists second.
Because
60.
no wait. So to the unaffiliated, they're considering atheism
is
as a belief, as an indoctrinated belief.
No, just as a religious expression, I think.
Whoa.
Right.
That is kind of wild, though.
Yeah. Or a non-religious expression. Like who are you?
I guess there is a difference between not believing in God and being an atheist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I mean is that
I think that's the definition of it.
No, but what I mean is as a lifestyle. What we're doing right here is something that outspoken people who are atheists do.
Right.
They do a podcast about being atheist, as do the people who listen to the show. They're consciously aware of that. Right? But I think that there's people out there who just like fucking go to their job every day and they're like, no, all that stuff is stupid. And you're like, so you're an atheist? And they're like, I don't even have time to answer whatever that question is. Right? Like there's probably tons of people like that.
Right. So back to this thing. Unaffiliated. Atheists at 60, Jews at 58. So of course I agree with that. Hindus at 56, which I feel like is a little high. And then Catholics at 52, Muslims at 45, Mormons at 44, and evangelical Christians, of course, coming in dead last at 41.
You know what? That's almost
we put them where they basically put us.
Right. That is pretty much if I was answering the questions
at 32.
If I was answering the questions, that's almost exactly what mine would probably look like. Is that Buddhists? Yeah. You know what I mean? That's the it's such a philosophical, like it's not,
it kind of does no harm.
Yeah. And it's just, and the people that
it does, but not really.
And the people that I've met in my life who are Buddhist have been wonderful people.
See, actually, my opinion of Buddhism has gone down based on the Buddhists that I've met.
Well, who are you meeting? Is it like college professors that are just assholes? It is, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you remember the Zen Center, right?
Oh God, yeah, not that.
Like, I have one friend who went and did that whole thing, and he was like, he's awesome, right? Pretty much everyone else that I've ever encountered that came from that whole thing was just nauseating.
I'm going to say something, and I hope that nobody takes offense at this. I hope nobody takes offense at this, but I am just going to say it. Were they all white people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, of course they were.
I think that's a lot different.
Of course they were.
Well, okay. The guy who runs House of Tibet, he's like the sweetest human being.
He's super nice.
So, well, that's a whole other story. But you know that I have a history with Eastern philosophy.
No, I know.
Places.
We've talked about it on the show.
Yeah, we've talked about it on the show. And so, and though a lot of those were Taoists, but a lot of them were Buddhists too.
Right.
And not, I mean, sorry about the white person crack, but
it's fine.
There's
fine.
There's a difference there.
I get it. Anyways, so the highest ranked group by a so the Jews rank themselves 89. The Jews feel great about themselves. And of any group,
what are we worried about?
They rank themselves the highest of any group.
What do they rank the lowest?
The Jews do not like evangelical Christians. They come in at 34. They also don't really like Muslims.
Weirdly
who score
enough.
higher than evangelical Christians.
Really?
At 35.
Which is interesting because the do the evangelicals like the Jews?
Evangelicals love the Jews.
Right. Because the Jews have to get back control of the Temple Mount in order for Armageddon to happen and their main man Jesus to come back, right?
Right, yeah. Evangelical Jews, or evangelical Christians, white evangelical Christians rank Jews 69.
Wow.
They rank themselves at 82.
Don't tell the evangelicals about the Jews survey. Because that number might drop a little bit.
I know, right? So anyways, it's kind of interesting. We should probably
really
move
interesting
on at this point.
I find that really interesting, though.
I think that... and there was one last thing, just a breakdown by age, which was kind of interesting. Christians and Jews are viewed more positively by older people. Younger people don't really feel too hot about Christians and Jews, which is interesting.
It is interesting.
I mean, we see the shift in this country happening.
Yeah.
But it's always interesting when you actually see it.
Is the atheist number go up when you look at the younger answers?
Let's see. Were atheists included? They didn't break it down that way.
Oh, okay. Because I bet it does. Like you said, the shift. I think there is definitely a shift happening in terms of.
Yeah.
I mean, not that young people are known
other
to be
groups.
necessarily
no.
reasonable.
This is to other groups. It is here. 18 to 29, 49 is the score for atheists, whereas 65 plus is 34. And it just kind of does a nice little line down.
Oh, okay.
To the older group from between the people in their 20s. But almost 50 for people 18 to 29.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So we're
we're cool with the kids.
The future is so bright and positive for us.
How do we get to the kids?
Well, that's the secret.
Yeah.
You get that figured out.
Yep.
You win the hearts and minds of the younger generation, and you're golden.
What was George Carlin's great line where he's the cardinal in Dogma? He's like, so you indoctrinate the kids like the cigarette company. And he goes, Jesus, if we only had their numbers. All right. So moving on, let's go to London.
Ooh. Okay.
Let's really do. I said it out loud, and I was like, that sounds really nice. Okay. So Tesco, you're aware of Tesco. It's a
supermarket
chain.
And by chain, we mean mega chain.
They're
all over the world.
Yeah. So but not
so much here.
So this Tesco in West London had a Muslim employee.
Okay.
Who refused to sell a woman ham and wine, which, she was doing a ham and wine luncheon, and she needed her supplies. And what goes better together?
Serve?
Ooh, ham and maybe a white wine?
That's the direction I would go.
Yeah, I mean,
it better have been white.
It is the white meat, so you want,
Yeah, it's an
good
old rule of thumb. Kind of match the color of the meat to the color of the wine,
and you want a playful bouquet, with the white wine.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you want something that could stand up to the sweetness of the ham.
Oh God! Ew, that just gave me goosebumps. Bad goosebumps. So she was in there to buy her ham and wine, and the Muslim employee refused to sell it because he, not the woman buying the wine and the ham, he, the employee, was fasting for Ramadan.
Okay, wait a second. Because Muslims can't, it's prohibited to eat pork products. Which
period.
Of course ham is.
That's across the board.
And they don't drink alcohol.
Right.
And wine is
alcohol.
Alcohol.
Yeah, unless this was Martinelli's.
Yeah, I don't think it was. And so, but would he normally have sold this woman these products, except for the fact that it's Ramadan, or does he just? Is that just a coincidence?
He said, I can't sell you these. I'm fasting.
So maybe there's like a higher level of like order of cleanliness that they
responsibility.
Like, they can't touch. Why could he not have just had her swipe it across the scanner?
Well, so
if he couldn't touch it,
he did tell her. Now, see, this again, I feel like this is splitting hairs because he said that he couldn't serve that. He couldn't actually help her by checking that stuff out. But he did offer friendly advice by telling her to go to the self-checkout.
Oh.
Which to me is like, so you almost did it.
Yeah.
Or you got a paycheck that money from the paycheck came from the store where the lady bought the ham and the wine, and that was okay. Like, at what point do you say, never mind, we can't do this? So she, rightfully so, got pissed off, filed a complaint. The manager backed up the worker.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It is weird. Well, and not to be, again, I feel like that it was more than anything. It seems to me like it would, like the Muslim dude was somebody who kind of doesn't has a lot of conviction, but kind of doesn't really understand why he's doing stuff.
Huh.
Do you know what I mean? Doesn't that usually seem like the guy that ends up bitching about stuff is the one that, odds are he probably was, if he had really read the fine print, he probably wasn't even supposed to be at work or something. Or
I think you can go to work.
I don't know.
Ramadan.
You know what I mean, though. It's like one of those weird things where it's like, okay, the Mormon, on Sunday you're not supposed to.
But he clearly was at the end. I mean, he clearly was cranky.
Oh, yeah.
From not eating.
Well, yeah.
You know
and here
what I mean?
she comes in. She's waving this ham around in his face.
Yeah. And he's like, and I've always wanted to try this ham.
Look,
It
first
looks
of all,
so delicious.
It looks so delicious. I don't know why he has
temptation.
I don't know
temptation
why-
too far.
I don't know why he has that accent in West London.
I don't
It's
know
temptation, then, isn't it? Like, is that?
Oh, shit.
Sorry.
I'm just saying.
But again, it's like the Mormon thing, right? You're not supposed to shop. You're not supposed to work. You're not supposed to shop. All these things. But you have Mormons, and they always go out to a restaurant. And you're like, well, you're making these guys that are serving you. They're working.
Yeah.
You're making them work.
Yeah.
Where's the line?
They're not, and they're of the mindset that they're not supposed to make people work.
They're
on
not
the
supposed
Sabbath.
to
They're
do
not supposed to
anything.
create work for people. On the Sabbath,
of any kind,
except for like emergency services.
right? And instead, they're at the Target.
But they're hungry. It's kind of an emergency.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
and they're
I'm feeling a little peckish.
"We wanted Leatherby's, dang it!" Shit, sorry. Anyway, it's a weird. It's again. It's that sliding. It's like once you have your convictions and you start putting caveats on all of it.
Yeah.
Like, does he normally sell it?
Yeah, I know. See, but it must be you're held to a heightened level of cleanliness. You're like a code orange for cleanliness, right? During Ramadan.
Yeah.
Maybe it's even code red. I don't know. For cleanliness. Although no, I bet the Hajj.
Let's
is
try
code red.
using something other than the terror alert when talking about Ramadan.
I didn't realize I did that.
Yeah.
Okay, DEFCON 4.
Ooh, still. I don't know. We were in a meeting and, we were talking about Ramadan and he just kept saying ground zero. And I don't think he realized the term he kept using. All right. Anyway, you got another one here?
I've got the last of
one.
our stories.
All right.
We've spent plenty of time on this.
It's always good.
I know.
It's because it's a damn festival when I'm here,
I know.
man.
It's
Come
so
on.
much fun.
I get to do this literally like once a year, you guys. So
it's
maybe
been
twice
about
a year.
Twice a year, I think.
So I try to make the most of it when I'm here.
Yeah, no, it's
and literally, since we don't sit next to each other at work anymore, like we got to get
a moment to chat.
Yeah, we got to get a lot of shit done. And you're here for all of it.
Oh my goodness. Okay. This is coming to us from WANE.com. From Wayne, Indiana.
Oh.
Fort Wayne. Fort Wayne.
I love Wayne.
And this is the story of a motorcyclist who was riding along, minding his own business. He's been riding motorcycles for like 25, 30 years or something like that.
Pro at it.
He's 47 years old.
All right.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he's been doing this forever.
And he's riding along.
What's his name? As long as we're painting a picture here, I'm just...
Anthony Olivieri.
Olivieri. Oliveri?
Oliveri.
Anthony Oliveri.
Anthony
Well,
Oliveri.
Tony Oliveri. He's
Yeah.
been riding bikes for
Yep.
30 some odd years.
So
here in Fort Wayne.
he's riding along,
Mhm.
and he
I'm
had the
picturing it in my head.
unfortunate. So this unfortunate set of events was happening in a car next to him,
Oh.
which is the woman who was driving the car
Uh-huh.
heard God say to her, "Let go of the wheel." Right?
So wait, again, I'm painting the picture. So we have Tony is riding
He's riding his bike,
his motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
The lane next to him is a car,
a car.
and in the car is a woman and God.
She says that she was driving, and out of nowhere, this is her quote. Oh, this is the police telling us what she said. She was driving, and out of nowhere, God told her that he would take it from here, and she let go of the wheel and let him take it.
Grab the wheel, Jesus.
Yeah. So she was just like, "Okay, let's see what happens."
Did he?
And the car swerved,
But God said,
ran over
"Oh,
the motorcyclist.
Tony."
Tony ran over the motorcycle and Tony Oliveri.
So he is just bebopping along, and all of a sudden the car starts to swerve into his lane. He's like, "Hey, what the hell?" And then it just like gunk.
Yeah. Ran him over.
Okay.
And he's laying there on the road. As it's happening, he's thinking, "I'm dying."
Of course.
Guaranteed.
As one would when a car runs over.
This is it. I'm done.
This is it,
And
Tony. Your card is punched.
He says that he was like, well, if this is the way God's taking me, this is it.
Oh, I love Tony.
Yeah.
I want to ride motorcycles with Tony. If he's still has his legs.
Well, no, it sounds like he's fine. The car ran over him. He was expecting serious injuries. There was road rash, and he broke some ribs.
If I may, at this point, there's two different people that have put full trust into God.
Yeah.
So that, if this was on the Hallmark channel, it'd be this, but then in real life, it's gunk. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's in custody.
Sure.
And she's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And, So it all ends okay because she needed to be removed from the roads, apparently.
Right.
Because she's crazy.
And the other real sad part here is that God is a total fucking liar.
Well,
he didn't do any of the stuff he said he was going to do.
Well, but everything's fine. Tony's alive. The woman had
No, you're right. Because
Tony had a faith-promoting experience in his life.
Actually,
it's what he needed. Her car running over him at that point is what he needed. That God saw the whole thing, and he was like, "Sweetheart, I know exactly how your car is out of alignment. I know it. I can see it right now. I know exactly the angle this car is going to swerve, and it's going to be perfect. It's going to be fine. You let go of the wheels in 3, 2, 1."
And that's when
everything's worked.
Oh my God!
It was a miracle.
Because you're right.
It was a miracle
you're
on the roads
absolutely
outside
right.
of Fort
Is that
Wayne.
I did not? It is a miracle because I didn't. I forgot that what she said was, "I'll take it from here."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And now Tony, was he just in the hospital, just saying like, "God threw a car at me"?
I don't know.
That's how I was saved. God threw a car right at me.
I think you brought up sort of a movie version of this whole thing.
Yeah.
I would love to see the story that that blends this into an actual faith promoting thing where he's like, "That is just what I needed. God bitch slapped me with this car right at the right time."
Here's the problem. There's no way you make that movie where there isn't at least just that scene in it where like the little, it's sort of that see-through glowy blue Obi-Wan Kenobi look of a hand grabbing the steering wheel
and just going
turning it towards some poor asshole on his motorcycle. And then in that moment, there's no way that people aren't like, "Ooh, wow, God's a real asshole." You can't do it. There's no way. You could make it as inspirational as you want. You could put a Sarah McLachlan song behind it in there. You could, have like a real soft, like fuzzy, gauzy filter on there. You're still showing God turning a steering wheel into some poor dumb asshole that's just like minding his own business.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, he's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, God, for running me over. You know
for letting Prianda Hill have her little experiment.
I'm sorry. What was that again?
Prianda.
Oh wow.
Prianda Hill. Or Prianda. But I'm going to say Prianda.
Prianda. Let go of the wheel, Prianda. I will take it from here.
Yeah. Prianda.
You know what else God could have done? Nothing.
And just let Tony go his way?
And maybe him getting home safe, maybe that would have made him believe in God.
And maybe Prianda, I don't know, could have volunteered at a soup kitchen.
Yeah, sure.
Rather than like serving how many months and
like for you
years.
To know
what would she, I mean, it's definitely reckless.
How much time does she get?
Recklessness.
I mean, I would imagine that it's psychiatric.
Yeah.
I bet it's not jail time. I bet it's psychiatric.
Yeah, probably.
But I mean, it's like for me to prove to you what a good friend I am isn't to punch you in the nose and then say, "See, I didn't break it. We're buddies." Right? I could just not do that.
But what if God told you that that's what I needed?
But what if I just told you, you know why? You know how you know that I'm your friend? I don't punch you in the face. I never punch you in the face. And you go, you're right, you don't.
I've got a lot of friends. By that reasoning, I've got a lot of friends.
So literally all God really needed to do is once Tony got home from his safe and completely harmless motorcycle ride is to go inside. And if God can really talk to people like that, go, could have thrown a car at you. And he's like, okay, I'll be at church on Sunday.
Her name was Prianda, and she was ready.
And she was right fucking next to you, Tony.
Well, I mean, ultimately, isn't it, I mean, we're making up this part of the story, clearly. But like...
So are they.
No. Yeah. But like... But Abraham...
We know we're making it up.
Abraham, right? Asked to sacrifice his son on the altar.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
God stopped him before he did it.
Right.
So, I mean, this whole faith promotion thing is a little bit of crap because Prianda should have been stopped. She should have let go, and then God should have been like, nope, take it back. You proved yourself.
Or that just like...
You proved it.
Or pulled into a parking lot and done some donuts, and she's like, oh my God!
Yeah.
Either God is real or it's like Herbie the Love Bug. It's like the car can drive itself.
Right.
Instead, it was just like... gone off some jumps.
The car turns into Kit.
Yeah. Oh my God. Right. Hello, Prianda.
Our mission today, if you're willing to accept it, is to avoid that motorcyclist over there.
Yeah. Not run over anybody. Yeah. That's how I'm going to show you that God is real.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Okay. If you'd like to chime in on this or anything else that we've talked about today, you can do so.
Any of the many things we talked about.
By emailing us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com. We also have a voicemail set up. The phone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, leave a voicemail.
We love it when that happens.
Yeah.
Our Facebook page is going like gangbusters. Facebook.com/TGIAtheist. It's a great way to join the conversation during the week.
Mackenzie it's really does funny
a
stuff
great
on there.
job.
She does, yeah.
We're getting tons of likes, and it's fantastic. I've also been making an honest attempt to tweet at TGIAtheist, and it's been fun. And
do you like doing it?
Yeah, but I haven't gotten into it fully. I'm trying to get there.
Right.
I do about a tweet or two a week at this point.
I still just hate that word, tweet.
Yeah, I know.
You're hearing like Diane Rehm say it.
All right, thankgodimatheist.com is our website. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to do a Brian Fisher moment here.
I'm not familiar.
He's a nasty little conservative talk show.
He's a nasty little
radio.
bridge troll who has his own radio show.
Yeah. And here he is. We talked about this on the show. I think 2 episodes back about Burger King's marketing thing during Pride in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Where it was. I think it was just a one-time deal.
Yeah.
They did it during Pride. They called it the Proud Whopper. They made a little video. It went viral, and then conservative Christian talk show people went fucking nuts.
Maybe you heard about this. Burger King coming out with what they're calling the Proud Whopper. Now, it's just in San Francisco right now, and we're thinking about doing something about this as an organization, some kind of action alert to get the attention of the Burger King establishment, the Burger King poobahs. But this one Burger King restaurant in San Francisco came out with something called the Proud Whopper, and it's got the rainbow colors on it and all that, and they even produced about a 2-minute sort of internet or web-based commercial. Not really a commercial, but it's just kind of a little feature on the introduction of the Proud Whopper in San Francisco. And you had people in tears. They were so touched by this thing that they were in tears. Now, the concern, obviously, is if this isn't bottled up in San Francisco, this kind of nonsense, then it's going to be spreading across the entire fruited plain, and you're going to be going to your Burger King in Des Moines, Iowa, and you're going to have a rainbow-colored wrapper for your Whopper. You know, and I got to tell you, the Proud Whopper, I got to tell you, I think this is a marketing. I think this is a marketing mistake. I think it's a bonehead move from a marketing standpoint, because I got to guarantee you, when people sit down to eat a hamburger, the last thing they want to be thinking about is 2 guys having sex.
I mean, to be fair, you know,
it depends on the 2 guys.
I would say
it depends on the 2
I know
guys.
that's sort of where I went also, is I'm like, well, if it's you,
yeah,
I don't want to be thinking about you, like, but you know, like, I don't know, Ryan Gosling and, you know, who else?
Ooh,
what really whets your appetite?
Okay, Ryan Gosling,
Matthew McConaughey?
No. More of
Magic Mike Matthew McConaughey?
No.
Sorry, this is your fantasy.
Yeah.
I'm not pushing this on you. Go ahead.
Tom Hardy.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Tom Hardy.
He has very kissable lips.
Oh, everything.
Everything's kissable. You know, for a guy who just threw around the word poobah, I think then saying like how gross it would be, I'm like, you know, let's don't split hairs here. That's fantastic. This just like the idea that they could do anything about it. We're really thinking about sending some people in to talk to one of the largest companies.
Right.
Like, yeah, because they're really going to be concerned about whatever you have to say.
No company starts issuing gay ads or gay promotional materials of any kind without having assessed the lay of the land first.
Yeah.
And they know exactly where they land. And
literally hired a guy to tell this guy, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like they have a guy whose specific job is when million moms for whatever and all that dumbass
for Christian
people.
burgers.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know what?
Keep your hands off our hamburgers.
Just go into Chick-fil-A and shut the fuck up.
You have a fast food establishment already lined up for you.
Yeah.
You've got that. You've got a craft store.
Yeah. They've
got
what about a clothing store? Do they have a...
Forever 21.
Okay, you're right.
They have Forever
21.
What else do they have? They have a serious burger joint, In-N-Out. They put
which really, if there's any burger
shut up.
That's going to make me think about sex, it's the In-N-Out burger.
And but they put little Bible verses on the bottom of their soda.
You're right, they do. Oh, those are nice.
There's that.
That's nice.
You know, I mean, they've got their places.
They've got their places.
These poor persecuted Christians.
Yeah,
right.
I think that they're probably doing.
Burger King just said, "We're fine with you not liking us.
Yeah,
we're fine with you eating at those other places."
You know what?
Like
we won't lie. We haven't been living in a cave. we kind of anticipated some of this. Like,
and they know where the tide is.
Wasn't it JCPenney's that had Ellen DeGeneres as their spokesperson?
Yeah.
And the million moms were like, but she's gay. And like, you want to one of the biggest celebrities in America, and that they're going to be like, wait,
the real objection.
She's what? She's gay.
But the real objection here should have been, it's JCPenney.
Yeah.
Ew.
You really think that
Ellen? Come on, Ellen. Don't back JCPenney.
No. Although, did you see the way she dressed before she got famous? I bet she shopped at Penny's a lot. I mean, she dresses awesome now, but that's because people get paid to dress her.
Right.
But
there
back in the day,
stops at Ross.
Oh,
too.
there was some backwards ball caps and lots of pleats on those jeans.
It was the 90s.
Yeah, it was.
It was the 90s.
Oh, it's so
that
unfortunate.
sitcom of hers.
Yeah. Oof. Like overalls.
Yeah. Oh.
I think there were some overalls and sweatshirts.
She lived next door to Blossom, right? Wasn't that written into the show?
I think so, yeah.
And Alf. Alf lived on the other side of her.
It's all one neighborhood. It's a cul-de-sac.
I have this fantasy that Alf, Empty Nest, and the Golden Girls all lived on the same street in Florida. And I don't know why.
Was Designing Women right around the corner?
No, because they're they're in Atlanta. We know they're in Atlanta.
You've really worked this out.
No, but we know. The show talks about it. They do. The Sugar Bakers of Atlanta.
Right, but that's a stretch. But Alf being an actual character is okay.
No. The fantasy is that the network had them all written onto the same street, and I don't know why. This is in my head. It seriously, legitimately is in my head.
Is this the moment?
And I know it's not for real.
Is this the moment when Dan's head explodes when he listens to the episode?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but like I remember there being. You know how they used to do those like Friday night crossover things?
Yeah, sure.
Where like one person from one show would all of a sudden have a walk on on another show.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember, and I don't know if it's true or not, of like Blanche showing up at the door at Empty Nest and the guy on Empty Nest. Do you remember that show?
Oh yeah, I loved Empty Nest.
That he showed up at the Golden Girls house.
Wasn't Empty Nest? Oh, I was thinking Empty Nest was a crossover from Taxi, but that was Dear John.
That was Dear John.
I liked that show too.
That was a good show.
Wasn't the comic relief?
He lived next door to Perfect Strangers, though.
Oh, why did Balky have a walk on?
No, I don't know.
That
was Chicago.
I pictured
Balky and cousin Larry lived in Chicago.
I picture just like a tiny little like preteen Frank like drawing all of this on the back of a Trapper Keeper. This is where I think everybody lives. They're like, Frank, will you go outside and play?
Well, Balky was from the same part of Sicily that
the Betty White's character.
No. She was from like.
Oh, that's right. No, that was like
Sophia. Sophia and Balky were from the same island.
I like this.
Which is totally not true because Balky always talked about the name of the place he was from.
Well, Bartokomous doesn't sound...
It was Greek.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be Greek, I think.
Oh, boy. You couldn't get away with that show nowadays, huh? Look at the funny foreigner.
My God.
There's no way. They were always skiing, it seemed like. So I don't know. Where would they be? Were they always going skiing with some hot girls?
Well, they both had hot girlfriends.
Right.
And they probably did
They're always going skiing.
I don't remember always. I remember that they did.
Your memory of it's probably better than mine.
Yeah.
How much of this are we going to cut?
Probably a lot. All right. Well, let's just rein it in real quick.
Okay. Oh,
and
I'm sweating. I'm laughing so hard. Oh my God.
we're gonna go to the interview.
Yes.
that Dan and I did earlier this week with one Mr. Hemant Mehta.
Well, we're here today with Hemant Mehta, who is a luminary. I'm going to say luminary. What do you think, Frank? Luminary
that sounds about
of
right.
the atheist movement.
Yeah.
The blogger of The Friendly Atheist. Also now podcaster under the same title. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's
branching out into a little bit of everything.
That's amazing, because what we needed was more podcast people to give us competition
to compete against.
No, I'm just kidding. Also, you work with the Foundation Beyond Belief. You're an author. You are a man of all trades.
I try to be.
On top of your like Joe job of teaching, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good grief, man. Get a personal life, will you?
I'll work on that.
Well, so I noticed that you had just launched a new podcast. So I wanted you to come on here so that our listeners knew about you, knew that you were doing it, because I just wanted to help get the word out. So tell us about your show.
Sure. Well, the idea was there are some things that there's some people I want to talk to, people that you don't normally think of as people in the world of atheism or the world of religion, but they do have ideas and opinions about religion. And I definitely didn't want to replicate what you guys and a lot of other great podcasters are doing. So the idea behind the podcast is myself and my colleague, Jessica Blumke. We just bring on people who are just really interesting to us, but maybe we haven't heard them in the rest of the atheist community anywhere. And we talk about it's a fun conversation for about 30 minutes. And there's some tangential relation to religion, but it's not per se about atheism, you know?
Right. I've listened to a couple of episodes and I've really enjoyed it. You guys are having a good time over there.
Yeah, we're trying.
So I think it's interesting that the angle is just interesting people. I kind of enjoy that, but do you feel like there's that must make it tricky, because to some extent you got to find a way to tie it back to atheism on some level, don't you think?
Personally, yeah, I would like to, but to be honest with you, I don't know. I'm having a blast just talking to some of these people. For example, we brought on Amy Dickinson, who is the syndicated columnist behind the Ask Amy column.
Right.
She's on Wait, Don't Tell Me, that great public radio show. On the surface, you would think, what does she have anything to do with atheism? But she gives advice, and a lot of that advice, comes from children who are having a rough time with their parents.
Right.
And we all know as atheists that, if you're an atheist and you come out when you're 14 or 15 or something, that could be rough going for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
So we were able to talk about that. I mean, that was a really brief part of an otherwise long conversation, but I think we got a lot out of just the rest of the conversation about, how do you give that advice? What sort of issues do those kids deal with?
Right.
Whether or not they're atheists.
It is interesting. Frank and I get a lot of emails asking for advice, which is like exactly the wrong place for people to go for advice. We're not smart men.
No qualifications whatsoever.
but you actually have written a book called The Young Atheist Survival Guide.
Yeah.
Which is, so you do know something about helping the young folks out.
Yeah, and the purpose of that one, I mean, it wasn't actually for atheists only. It was a book that, over the course of like 7 or 8 years of writing on my blog, the stories that seem to resonate with the most people are ones about young atheists who get in trouble somehow, or who get in trouble for being an atheist, which they shouldn't, or they like call out the religious bullshit that goes on at their school. Like there's a religious mural hanging on the walls and it should be there. And it turned out it wasn't just 1 or 2 people we were talking about. It was dozens of students who've gone through things like this, and sharing their stories and finding kind of a connecting thread between all of them. I hadn't seen that anywhere else. So last summer, or a couple summers ago, I just kind of hunkered down and wrote it during my summer break.
Right.
So that's where that book came from. And again, it's not about promoting atheism. I think Christians could read that book and say, here are people who are searching for the answers, just like everyone is. And what they're doing isn't so much trying to force their beliefs on anyone else. It's fighting for a neutral playing field. How could we not get behind them?
Sure.
Aren't they doing what we want them to be doing?
Right. Well, I mean, I think one hates to be unfair, but I can certainly think of a lot of Christians who don't want that for their kids. Don't want their kids to be looking for answers. They already have the answers, and
they don't want kids questioning.
Right.
Questions lead to answers that you may not like.
Right, exactly. Well, I actually appreciate that. We have a lot of young listeners who write into us, who and it's tough. It's there are no pat easy answers for young atheists. What can you give us like just a a few ideas that you've come across and you're thinking about being a young atheist that might be helpful to our young listeners?
I think the biggest thing is it depends on how comfortable you are kind of using the A word. I mean, are you out to anybody? There are some people who live in, the Bible Belt in the South, even in rural communities elsewhere, where it would actually be a really stupid idea to come out as an atheist.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It would be like you're under your parents' roof. They are your home. I mean, you can't, you don't want to ruin that relationship. So it doesn't always make sense to come out.
Right.
But it really does help. I've never found a situation where it doesn't help when you have a community of like-minded people to talk to. So what are the options? You could start an atheist group at your high school.
Right.
That is legal just about everywhere with very exceptions. The only exceptions being if they don't allow any clubs or something.
Right. Which our fair state of Utah tried to pioneer when the gays tried to get their clubs going.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing, and I document this in the book, the reason the gay-straight alliances can form in high schools and the reason, secular student alliances can form in high school is because Christians wanted to have their Bible club meetings, and they're the ones who fought the legal battles to allow high schools to allow their group.
Right.
Now we're just riding that train, and it's great.
Thanks for laying that pavement for us there, Christians. We appreciate that.
I forgot the exact quote, but I think Jerry Falwell said something like, "This is the greatest decision ever," when they said Christians can have their groups.
Right.
So thank you, Jerry, for letting the gay-straight alliances meet and stuff,
Right, exactly.
But they could start a group. But you know what? Some students aren't comfortable with that. They don't want to be that out in their high school or something. But then, start a blog, start a podcast, do it anonymously if you want to. And you know what? Go on Reddit where you can have an anonymous profile. And just kind of share those thoughts, for all the anonymity and all the downsides that has with it, just being able to talk about your beliefs and know that there are people listening and who agree with you, that's really powerful.
Indeed, it is. As someone who has, we have a blog and we have a podcast, and just finding that community can be very, very empowering, and it just feels nice. It feels good to find other people who are like-minded.
Yeah.
And heaven knows we've talked to plenty of people who haven't had that, and we went on a road trip through the South, Frank and I did, just to sort of meet people, and boy, it's not easy.
It's not.
Everybody.
And and you guys know this, anyone who's been out for a little while, it gives you peace of mind. It's so wonderful when you finally done it, but it is hard as hell to do it like the first time.
Yeah. It can be really, really scary for people. You're right, though. It is nice. I mean, what's great is that, and everybody has to pick their own battles and decide where they want to be out and where they don't. But, a lot of people don't want to be out at work. But I find that if you're out at work, you don't have to put up with people, like all the Christian-y people skip giving you all the Christian stuff, and they just go to the other people, and you avoid a lot of hassle.
Exactly.
When you're out. Now, you sort of exploded onto the scene. I want to talk about this because I've never heard you tell this story, but I want to hear the story of you selling your soul.
Okay.
When I was in the South, I'll just preface by saying, when I was in the South, I tried to sell my soul to the devil so that I could play the guitar, and the devil didn't show up. It was very rude. I thought of the devil not to come, but apparently my soul's not worth anything. So tell us your story about selling your soul.
The short version of that is I grew up religious. I grew up in a Jain family, a small Indian religion.
Yeah.
And I became an atheist when I was 14. And when I was, 19, 20, I had finally started an atheist group on my college campus. And I started working with some national atheist groups too. So I went from being really religious to really atheist. And there was no transition, in between there. And that meant, living in America, I'd never been to a church service.
Right.
I'd been to any mega church or Catholic church, really, not for any service or anything. And it's kind of weird to talk about religion when you don't have firsthand experience of that stuff. So what ended up happening is I said, here's a weird idea. Why don't I just have people bid on where I go to church, and I'll go for them? Because I thought that was a cute way to get attention for that thing. Because I don't want to just write about going to church and then have nobody read it, because there's no conversation there. So the eBay thing, I'd seen people do silly stunts on eBay. If I did it today, it'd probably be on Kickstarter or something.
Right.
But it basically said you can bid on where I go to church. I will donate the money. I said mosque or synagogue too, but only Christians seemed to bid.
Huh.
A pastor won the auction for like $500+,
Wow.
which was donated. And the pastor said, "Look, I owed him 50 Sundays worth of church."
Right.
Oh wow.
And he said, "That's boring." Yeah, he's like, "I wouldn't want to do that. So let's make a deal." He said, "Go to like 10 churches. He will pick them out for me." He lived in Seattle and I lived in Chicago. He's like, "I'll pick your churches for you, different types. You go to them, you'll write about your experience on my Christian ministry's website, and we'll call it a deal."
Wow.
So I took that deal easily.
That's
And he
great.
took me, I mean, I ended up going at the time to like evangelical megachurch. I went to a Catholic church. I went to pretty much all black church on the south side of Chicago.
Sure.
A guy's living room. Really, really good experience, by the way, for all of this.
Nice.
Just as a learning experience. And I wrote about my experiences on his website. And it was the first time I ever did anything similar to blogging. So it was really cool to get the back and forth with the commenters. And they were actually, this is weird to say, they were actually very good commenters all around.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. If they agreed with me, they were very kind about it. If they disagreed, they were very kind, and it was all constructive criticism or something.
Well, it sounds to me like you hit sort of the perfect storm of how to avoid internet trolling. Because
Yeah.
the people who should troll you are really kind of rooting for you to come to their side, so they don't want to make you look bad. They don't want to like be mean to you, and they want to be, they want to be careful about things. And and the atheists probably don't want to troll you either, because it's like, he's one of us, kind of, but he's going to church. I don't know.
Well, exactly. And you know what? I think more than anything else, it was this, as much as it sounds like a weird little publicity stunt, it really was a sincere, like, I'm really going to these places because I want to know if they have anything to offer. And here's my first impression. And in most places, it was not a good first impression. And I think even Christians were like, for all these churches that try to reach out to people like me, they did a really awful job of it. And I think a lot of the Christians who were reading that were like, oh, yep, see, here's all the stuff our church tries to do. But when we actually do it, it totally fails. And here's the proof why.
Right.
So I think it was a good combination. And I like you said, I hit the jackpot in terms of the way it all worked out. But a Christian book publisher said, this is really cool because Christians are getting like this mirror to their face, and they never get that honest response. Because, you always see it as people who agree with you or people who like hate you.
Right. Exactly.
And they were like, you clearly don't hate them. You're just giving them an honest feedback on all this.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to like a couple dozen more churches and writing about that in a book called I Sold My Soul on eBay.
Right. That's great. Frank and I actually on our show.
Just to close up that story really quick, after I did all that, I was like, I kind of like this back and forth blogging. So that's where the whole Friendly Atheist site even came from.
Oh, okay.
Brilliant. You did it well. Yeah, I was going to say, Frank and I, when we started this show, we had this brilliant idea for one of our segments to be what we called church reviews, where we go to different churches and we basically review it as a theater piece more than
like a Christian Yelp.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then we found that we didn't have we didn't have enough of a tolerance for
it's awful
going to church.
You know what's really interesting though? I've seen a lot of college atheist groups do this where they say, give us $5 for charity. It'll go to like a really good secular cause, not an atheist cause, but just a regular cause. For $5, you can tell us where to go to church. We will go by ourselves like that weekend. And then like the following Monday, everyone would be there and they would discuss what they learned at their church visits over the weekend. So it's a really cool idea all around.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I encourage people to go to church. There's nothing bad that can happen to you. All you can do is learn.
The problem though is there's nothing wrong with the church attendance itself. It's when it is. It's Sunday morning.
Oh, that's right.
And that's the bummer for me.
That's brunch time.
That's brunch time for me. Yeah.
But see, that's the traditional service. Now the cool kids all meet, Wednesday night or Saturday night.
Oh, right. And they got the rock and roll going.
Yep.
got all
And by the way, I tell high school students who I get those same emails and they're like, well, I do. I'm in high school. I'm an atheist, but I still got to go to church. My parents are forcing me. And I say, go to church, but use it as like a learning experience where, make a list of all the things the pastor says that are wrong.
Right.
Raise those questions if you get a chance to, pretend. I mean, when you graduate or when you move out of the house, you're going to want to have that firsthand experience. So make use of it while you're there and just figure out all the things that you dislike about the church and find a way to fix it.
Right. And also, find the things that are good.
Yeah, exactly.
Learn good lessons as well. They have those. They like to bury it amongst a bunch of crap. But
yeah, no, and you know what? That's one of the reasons we started Foundation Beyond Belief, where we were saying, who gives more money to charity? Is it atheists? As a percentage of their income? Is it atheists? Is it religious people? It's always religious people. They just make charitable giving a habit.
Right.
But the thing is, why do they do that? Are they just nicer people? No, it's because they have a way to give through the church.
There's a mechanism there that's
there's
regular.
a mechanism, and we don't have that mechanism. So we started, Dale McGowan started it, and I kind of joined on with him. Foundation Beyond Belief basically is a mechanism for atheists to give to awesome charities that do not proselytize. And it's been working really well so far because we're giving people that mechanism they can't find at church.
Yeah, and I've followed quite a bit of what Foundation Beyond Belief has done. But will you talk just a little bit about the mandate of Foundation Beyond Belief and some of the things that you guys have worked to do?
Yeah, we basically want atheists to find a way to give to charity. We want giving to become a part of the culture in our community.
Right.
So what we do is we have a staff that selects 5 charities every 3 months, every quarter of the year. And they help in the areas of like human rights, women's rights, poverty, those types of issues. And basically we put those out there at the beginning of every quarter and say, these are the charities we think you should be supporting. And, you can give, like, let's say you're giving $20 a month. You could say, I want 10% of it to go to charity A, 20% to go to charity B. I don't really care for charity C, so nothing there. And 40% to D, et cetera. And basically, we want to encourage you to give. You could do it by yourself, but maybe if you do it with a community of atheists, you're more likely to make it a regular thing.
Right.
And, we have so many big things coming up in the future, but I think some of the bigger ideas are just, it doesn't just have to be adults. It can be younger people as well. And we're going to give bigger and bigger grants. I mean, the grants we're giving now to these charities are like in the low 5 figures.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, for some of these groups, that's a significant chunk of their budget, which is really awesome to know that you're part of making it better.
It's so valuable to have. I have some money that I like that I want to give to charity, but what I don't have is a lot of time to start to look into charities and make sure that they're comporting themselves well and that they're
and to vet them.
Right.
That's what our volunteers and staff does for you. We vet them for you. We tell you what they're all about. And by the way, I think one of the coolest things is that one of the 5 charities every quarter is a religious charity, meaning they're run by religious people, but they don't proselytize at all. They're just religious people who want to do the same good things we want to do. And that pisses off a lot of atheists, by the way. And my response is, well, if you don't like those charities, don't give them your money that quarter. But some of them are just fantastic. I mean, we supported a specific Baptist group last quarter that supports church-state separation. Oh, wow. And you don't normally think of Baptists doing that, but this group did. So, I mean, it's just an awesome group.
That's amazing. I really I applaud your work in that. And thank you for getting out there and doing what I'm too lazy to do.
If anyone's interested, it's foundationbeyondbelief.org.
Yeah, and you guys have a conference coming up, right?
We have a conference coming up in Chicago this weekend. It's the first time we're trying this out. And I've been to a lot of atheist, skeptic conventions and stuff. And, it's always focused on, how much superior we are in some ways, why atheism is right, religion's wrong, et cetera.
Right.
This is the first conference I will probably go to where it's entirely about the awesome things atheists have done, but not in the name of atheism.
Right.
For example, there's one speaker who volunteered to be homeless for several weeks, lived on the street, documented it because she wanted to show what it's like to be homeless in her city. And hey, she happens to be an atheist. That's that's a fascinating project that I think we want to hear about. We have atheists who went on a quote unquote mission trip for a year, and they went around to poverty stricken nations and just did amazing things, building schools, things like that. You normally only hear about that from like Christian mission trips.
Right.
But these were atheist pathfinders who went abroad and did all these amazing things. So we'll hear from them. Lots of really amazing people with practical things that they've done.
A lot of our listeners won't hear about this in time. Do you plan on making this a yearly thing? Is that the idea?
I think that's the hope. We're going to have to see how it goes this year, and we'll take it from there. But before it even begins, registration looks good. It looks like there's a lot of people interested. And you know what? And I don't feel bad about saying this. I think the media is interested too.
Sure.
Because this is a story you don't normally hear.
Right. Well, do keep us informed. If there is one next year, I'd love to make sure our listeners know about it, and probably I'd love to go to it. So,
Absolutely.
So please keep us in the loop on that. Well, our time's running out, but I would love to ask you just one other thing, because one of the things that Frank and I have found in our journey doing this podcast is that we're not, for lack of a better phrase, angry atheists.
Yeah.
Things make us angry, but that is not the defining character of our show. We tend to be pretty fun loving and have a good time. And I just wanted to ask you about your title, The Friendly Atheist.
Yeah.
Do you get flack for that, or is that, because we've gotten some flack for not being abrasive and not or angry enough or whatever.
I do get flack. Some of it's deserved. Here's where the name came from. It's for the same reason you just mentioned, which is that when I was coming up with the website's name, at the time, all I ever heard were the phrases like angry atheist, militant atheist, staunch atheist. Mm-hmm. And to me, that was weird because all the atheists I hung out with were pretty happy, smiling people. Mm-hmm. But you never hear like the media refer to, happy atheists.
Right.
And so I was like, well, you know what? Call the site Friendly Atheist, because at least they'll have to put those two words together if they ever mention it. And it doesn't mean that I'm always friendly. In fact, I think anyone who's read the site knows that I've probably gotten angrier over time. So it doesn't mean I'm friendly. It doesn't mean I'm the only one who's friendly. But it's mostly to say, hey, atheists can be friendly. If I could go back in time, I would just probably have a different name for the site. I'd just call it like hemantmehta.com or something.
Right.
It would be so much easier. But that's where the origin came from. So, you know what, when people say like, oh, you're mad at angry atheists. No, I'm not. I kind of like it when some people are kind of aggressive and in your face about it. I think we need that.
Right.
But it's not my style. It's not your style. And you know what? It doesn't mean that we're not as upset about the things religion has done or that we're somehow accommodating to religion or anything like that.
Sure. Well, Hemant Mehta, thank you so much for coming on the show. We wish you all the luck in the world with your future endeavors, although you don't seem to be struggling. But you know what's really fun? I think what's exciting to me is trying out things that I'm not good at and that I haven't done before and seeing if I can do anything with it. So I've tried that with, books and YouTube and stuff, and we'll see if it works with the podcast. It's too early to tell, but it's always nice to talk to people who kind of know what they're doing. Well, if you meet some, tell us. Right. Got it. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with all of your endeavors. And we really appreciate having you.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Frank.
Bye-bye.
Well, wasn't that a great little interview?
It is really cool. I think it's really cool, the whole selling the soul like as sort of a not like a political stance, but almost just like it's almost like a social. It's just like a social experiment, right?
Yeah. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah. So, lots of fun. Cool. Mm-hmm. Well, Adam, why don't you get a plug in for your podcast?
Oh yeah. If you want to hear more such ramblings, nonsensical ramblings, you can head over to A Damn Movie Podcast. That's a DAMN movie podcast, which I host with my friend Adam Palcher. And just really in-depth, nerdy movie talk. So we're just wrapping up our Woody Allen Festival. So
fantastic.
Yeah. I got one more. I got to do Hannah and her sisters next week. So
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, give that a listen, and of course, if you would like to get in touch with us, you can do so by emailing us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com or leaving us a voicemail at 424-666-8442. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and our Twitter feed can be found at TGIAtheist as well. And then, of course, our website is thankgodimatheist.com. I didn't do emails or voicemails this week.
They would all go right over my head.
We'll get to those next week when Dan's back. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you to Mackenzie for all of her help on Facebook. And thanks to the Red Rock Hot Club for letting us use one of their tracks for our music. All right. Well, thanks everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Adam.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I always love doing this. It's always fun.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
See ya.